Hello, everyone, and welcome to HackerRank Radio. This is your host, Adil Bandukwala. Our theme for today's podcast is everything from XaaS to IoT. What's next for tech leader Cisco? It's hard to believe that there was a time when Cisco, as a company, that businesses could lean on them only for their networking solutions. Today, the technology behemoth has evolved from offerings into state of the art products and services that cover every need of a business. From IoT to cybersecurity, Cisco's incredible team spread across the world collaborate with their customers every day to solve, improve, and develop novel solutions. I'm super pumped to have with us today Cisco's Anil Nair and Suhas Mansingh, two prominent leaders to delve into their perspectives about some heatedly discussed subjects like cloud delivered security and all of the shiny, new, and exciting work they're doing in this coming year. Let's get started with quick introductions. First up, Anil Nair. Anil is Vice President Engineering in the Security Business Group at Cisco. He leads product engineering for network security and web security and drives this billion-dollar business across the globe. In addition to his day job, Anil is the APJC executive sponsor for Connected Disabilities Awareness Network and University Relations. He has been contributing to India's startup ecosystem as a mentor and guide through Cisco's popular Launchpad program. In his personal time, Anil is an avid photographer and he enjoys traveling. Anil, welcome to HackerRank Radio, and tell us, what's your most favorite holiday destination? We'll keep talking about tech, sure, but let's get to know you a little better. Tell us, what's your favorite holiday destination?
Thank you, Adil. Thanks for having me. It's a great question to begin the day. I think I would love to go to places that has a lot of natural beauty and wildlife. So Africa is has been one of my favorite places. I've been fortunate to go around the Serengeti in Kenya. I would love to go back there and spend some more time.
That's so awesome to hear. That's a place I haven't been to. It's on the bucket list. I hope I get to do it someday. And when I do get a chance, you can look out for a LinkedIn email coming your way because you've already been there, done that. Now, time to bring up Suhas Mansingh. Suhas is Vice President of Software Development in Distributed Systems Engineering Group. He's completed 20 plus years at Cisco. For those Gen Z guys listening in, 20 years is still a thing. So Suhas has got 20 plus years of experience at Cisco, leads a team of 1,000 plus software engineers in India and Italy. His team in India and Italy is responsible for software development of routing platforms, CRS, ASR 9K access platforms, and optical platforms even, which is NCS 2K, 1K, and 4K. Suhas holds 2 patents relating to automation of network provisioning and orchestration in optical networks. Suhas, other than building game-changing tech and the patents you've got in your name, what do you love doing in your free time? Tell us a couple of hobbies and interests.
All the hobbies are dead. I got a teenager and a 9-year-old at home. So from listening to K-pop and Dynamite and Blackpink to music that has more expletives in it than my neighborhood, rickshawala with my teenager, and trying to control that has been my job for the past few years. So it's interesting raising, as what I was talking about earlier, right? The Gen Z pluses that we are bringing up at home right now, and it's going to be a crazy new world with them.
Hey, look at the bright side, Suhas. There's no Yo-Yo Honey Singh, there's no Badshah in your house, and at the same time, there's no Roblox. So that is a strategic advantage, isn't it?
Yes, I'm listening to them, so that's what's happening.
But amazing having you, gentlemen. Thank you for making time for HackerRank Radio.
Sure, anytime.
All right, so with that, let's dig into this podcast. I've been meaning to ask you, Suhas, maybe we can start with you. You've seen Cisco evolve from like a big box company to a very different player that it is today, which is 2 decades later. Tell us a little bit about this transition and what's life been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been in Cisco for over 20 years, around 23 years, and in the US and then in India. And Cisco's always been in networking. So what's really happened is networking has kept on changing over the past couple of decades. But Cisco's core strength in networking has always continued. And from big boxes that would take 1 gig or 10 gig of bandwidth to multi-terabit being taken all over the world. Now that's the evolution of the products that Cisco has worked on that has happened. But what else? The other thing that's happened is, cloud has impacted everyone, right? And cloud has impacted everyone. The power of software, the power of compute has impacted everyone. And Cisco has moved to largely, software controller based, security focused, end-to-end solution provider because the boundaries that were there across, say compute and networking and storage and everything seems to be merging with software. And everybody is everywhere, and so is Cisco. I think we're everywhere. So it's kind of evolved from a niche player into, like you just started off with, we're solving customers' problems, whatever they be.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And with that, let's get to Anil. Anil, I hear there's a very interesting story of how you know Suhas. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's bring in that story. And once you've completed that story, maybe go on to what Suhas said and tell us, like, what is a networking slash hardware focused behemoth doing with software, and why is it so obsessed and focused with software today?
Oh boy, it's been more than 2 decades. But when I joined Cisco, the very first day, Suhas was one of the people whom I met. And this was in a place called Petaluma, north of San Francisco, a place where there's a lot of farmland, cattle, and hen, and all of that. So I met him at Petaluma the very first day I joined Cisco. And here we are, more than 2 decades later, sitting in the same room and solving similar problems and dealing with similar people issues.
I was just 5 years old at that time, so just to get my age.
So this is an interesting pattern you'll probably see in Cisco. You'll probably see a lot of people who have been around for ages, for decades, trying to solve similar problems. There's something that holds people together really well, and is part of the culture. Going back to the question that you had in terms of how do I see Cisco evolving and what has been the experience. But if you fundamentally think about what networking has been trying to do, what Cisco has been trying to do is connecting users, you and me, to the applications, including the application we are using to record this program. And how it has evolved is connecting the users to the applications securely. Security is the fundamental premise that has to be there for any of the infrastructure, any of these things to work. So this has been a very natural next step for Cisco to get into security. And when you think about the networking and the assets that we have as a company, the users connect to the network, applications connect to the network. And making sure that this connectivity and this interconnects are secure is what we're trying to do. And there is no other player in terms of how you look at the security landscape who can really cover the entire spectrum that makes the user and the application secure. And I think we are in a unique position. Let me also extend that to one more thing. So increasingly, security is related to data, to AI, to ML, and everything. So it is not about setting things up in a certain way and putting up policies and making things secure. It's about how we learn the environment and kind of adopt and evolve along the way. So the fact that we see a lot of traffic, we see a lot of users, we see a lot of applications, we see a lot of traffic. 80% of the internet goes through Cisco's products in some shape or other. We know what is good, what is bad, and technologies and constructs that are available to us in the shape of learnings and intelligence help us kind of provide the best security for that connectivity.
Awesome. Thank you for taking us through that and giving us perspective on why software and why this underlying notion of why Cisco is going down the software route. Let's talk a little bit about ChatGPT. What is Cisco's take on ChatGPT, and how are you potentially thinking of using it, embracing it? What are your thoughts? Do you think this will fly? What is Cisco's point of view? One, I'd also love to know what is Suhas and Anil's point of view too.
So this has been really interesting, right? Last couple of months with ChatGPT, everybody asking all kinds of questions to ChatGPT, and in fact, it's impossible to get into it these days, right? With the traffic out there. But if you look at it, the power of AI and ML is something that we in the industry always knew. What ChatGPT has done is democratize the impact that it can have. You could have told till kingdom come to my grandma how AI and ML is going to change how networks are deployed, but it wouldn't mean anything. But if you put a recipe of chaat pakoda in the chat GPT and it tells you how much namak to add, it definitely says, this is a cool thing, man. This actually works. So what it's done is actually made AI more consumable by common man. So what was so geeky all along has now become a conversation that you can have at a bar, right? With nobody, trying to walk away from you saying, let's sit next to this geek. So the power of AI and ML is something that we've been using in Cisco all along. If you think of it in chat GPT terms, if you were to get to a network and you're seeing a network's blowing up somewhere, your cell phone's not connecting well, the service provider could type into the network and say, what's wrong with the network in Dodnakundi, right? And it could give back and say, hey, these 3 routers are connected, but it looks like one of them is not very happy, right? And so you could have a similar kind of an impact in managing and operating networks. If you look at most of these service providers that you have, the operations costs are maybe 4 or 5 times higher than capex costs. So it is very powerful. We've been, the geeks have been using it for a while, and I think what ChatGPT has done it has just shown the power for a common man. And I don't know, Anil, if you want to have a take on it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Suhas. ChatGPT has become the face of AI and ML that many people, many times common men found it very difficult to relate to. Now you have an application of that everybody can understand, relate to, engage, interact, and suddenly you're realizing the power of what ML can do with the data that's available to that. And it's relevant in many industries, and specifically for what Cisco does from a security standpoint. At the end of the day, our customers want their infrastructure, their users, their applications to be secure. How you make it secure is almost irrelevant for them. So as the technologies like AI and ML are advancing, as the data is becoming a lot more available, making the users and the applications secure in a way where it's not about set ways of doing that. It's not about policies that you set in advance and kind of figure out, human beings going after them to see what happened, all the incident response and so on and so forth. Think about a situation where we can increasingly leverage these technologies to not only make the infrastructure secure, but also when there's a breach, you get to know about it immediately. The actions that happen on it happens automatically, and it's a great new world where anybody can connect to anything, and it's going to be secure.
That's so cool to hear. And while you two gentlemen were talking about this and I was obviously making notes, I also fired up a ChatGPT instance on my computer. And I just typed in ChatGPT, will Cisco be bigger in 2030? Now, here's what ChatGPT is saying to my question. It says, as a language model, I cannot predict the future with certainty. But Cisco is a well-established company with a diverse range of products and services with a strong track record of growth. The company has been expanding its focus on the Internet of Things, cloud computing, and cybersecurity, which are all areas that are expected to see significant growth in the coming years. Additionally, Cisco's strong financial position and its position as an industry leader also suggests that the company may continue to grow in the future. So there you go. AI is also predicting and betting big on Cisco.
See, it's smart, right?
The way it articulated the story and how it rationally laid out the basis for its prediction is just amazing.
And what I really find interesting in ChatGPT is its English is way better than mine, and the content I might be better at, but the damn thing really speaks such fluent language that for a computer to actually be able to decipher the right slangs and the right technique, the structure, the content is not always very exciting. I think what we need to do now with so much AI around is to have our bullshit meter really strong, because it could be giving you complete BS, and we have to be smart enough to figure out, because otherwise whatever it says becomes the truth. And that's the big fear I think I have with a lot of these simplified answering oracles, right? That we'll start believing whatever they say. And so I think that the core knowledge that we build for ourselves and education that we had, that doesn't go away. Otherwise, it's going to start ruling our world. But pretty interesting.
I think what you're trying to say is, Suhas, ChatGPT is actually testing if we are genuinely intelligent or artificially intelligent to just believe whatever it's saying.
I know it keeps on testing us. I think it's made a lot of mistakes too, as Stack Overflow and other places they've figured out, right, where the code has been wrong. So don't think it's God, but it's definitely a big step forward, right?
It definitely way ahead. If you think about when I first used a computer back in 1996, and it talks about age, unfortunately, but that was the first time I used a computer, and I was being taught QBasic in school, and we were only using DOS as commands, and I used to always wonder, why should I say CD and then name of a directory, MD name of a directory? And now you think it's actually interacting with you in a language that is English. Is just fascinating. But let's put that aside and let's talk about, correlating what ChatGPT said, right? ChatGPT obviously also bets that Cisco is going to grow in the future and going to be even bigger. So going back on that, let's talk about what do you think are big bets Cisco is making today? What are the big bets because of which you think Cisco will be even way better and way bigger? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I'll start with security. So one of the big bets Cisco is doing is on security, on cybersecurity. And there are a few different reasons why we are doing that. One thing I kind of already mentioned, that being a networking company, helping connect the users to the applications, making those connections secure is a very natural next step. And we've been in this space doing a whole bunch of things in security for a while, but now at this point of time, we have identified security as the transformational technology or the transformational business that will take Cisco into the 2030s. And I'm expecting ChatGPT to tell you that in the next few weeks or months. But this is a huge bet we are making. It's a very natural bet for us to make. And we have fundamental assets that we can extend to that space. And that's going to really make us win in that space in many different ways. And there are a lot of extensions to that. And I think automation, so as you want to cover what we're doing on the automation side.
I mean, the other, if you look at the traditional Cisco market, which everybody thinks of networking and the role that software is going to play there. And I was just thinking back to when we talked about when I met Anil 20 years ago, the product that I was building at that time was called Cisco Network Controller. It was a software tool to control the optical networks. And that has become so much more powerful. So what's happened is, that the role software plays in simplifying the networks. I mean, you've seen that with Meraki and other controllers where it is actually taking away the complexity of the network. What's happened is the network has become so pivotal to whatever we do. I can give you examples where there have been bugs in the network where a network might have gone down somewhere and people think it's a terrorist attack. And it's a stupid, crazy bug somewhere that has brought down half of Timbuktu, right? Or some part of, or UK or US or whatever, right? So the value of the network is huge. Hence, we have the power of software can actually be used to make it simple, make it more stable, make it more reliable. And that's what we're doing right now. There's a huge investment going on in, intent-based networking kind of stuff, which is, like a chat GPT for network provisioning. You could say network managing, you could say, right? You tell what you want to do, and we would be able to figure out how to set up the network and how to do it end to end, right? There's a lot of roles software is going to play now as networks have become more ubiquitous, as opposed to being these niche things that only these CCIEs and CCNAs could handle, right? So now anybody can do it. So we have to simplify it, dumbify it, which basically means the software has to get more and more intelligent to have much more dumber interfaces for people up there.
So if I want to kind of bring these two things together, right, you're seeing a lot of transformations happening in the technology space, especially with cloud and others. These two areas are things that fundamentally enable those transformations to be faster, simpler, and easier to adopt. So when you think about the cloud transformation, the biggest challenge we have in terms of speeding that up is the concerns about security. So that's one area where we'll see whatever we're doing from security space is going to help the transformation of the cloud. Similarly, the OpEx, the expenses that we have to incur to operationalize the network is increasingly going up. The sophistication is higher. So automating that, bringing in AI ML models into that is going to go a long way in transforming that space as well.
Definitely a lot of food for thought for all the geeks who are kind of tuned in to figure out there is the whole automation angle, and then there is the security angle, and then there is this angle that both of them are kind of coming together. So let's like double click a little more into the security angle, Anil. And like cloud delivered security can sound often like an oxymoron to a few skeptics, because a lot of people, the number one concern about migrating to the cloud is still security. Now, since Cisco provides trusted cloud delivered security solutions like Umbrella, what are your 2 cents on the matter of security in and outside the cloud? Like, what's your perspective?
So when customers manage the security on its own in their network, fundamentally, it's a complex problem. You need to have a lot of people who understand that. The skills, the expertise is increasingly difficult to get. You are increasing the attack surface because there are a lot of different places where that attackers can come into. You're exposing more and more of your infrastructure, of your assets to an external attack. If you are able to get them to a singular place of control, that simplifies the security, also provides a better security in many different ways. And being able to deliver that in a cloud through models like SSC, you are essentially providing better security, simpler security to the customers. There are challenges in terms of privacy, there are challenges in terms of compliance, there are challenges in terms of how do you trust someone else to deal with something that's very core to your business. But over a period of time, I think this is increasingly getting to a point where our customers are comfortable with it. You're actually seeing in the defense sector, in the federal sector, more and more of those customers adopting cloud incrementally. And I think it's just a matter of time where people are going to be comfortable about it as much as they're comfortable with their operations on their premises.
I mean, you can draw a parallel actually, right? You think of a security with having 100 security guards running around in an airport, or you have security cameras everywhere, and now you have a central office where some guy is looking at it and can do much better than those 100 running around the place, right? So that's the power of giving the freedom along with the security, right? And that's what cloud gives you. So although people are scared of the cloud, but we are using it for whatever. Right now we're you're using the cloud to actually have the conversation, and folks are going to use, so it's not going away. So we can only make it more secure, and it is the way forward. I don't think there's any way backward in going into a bank vault and that's feeling secure only in the bank vault, right? You can actually take your phone pay outside and pay whatever you want to do, right? So what used to be cash is now become secure on your phone. So it's giving you more freedom and along with security. So that's the way the world is moving. It is cloud has to be secure.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, there are so many examples of us living our daily lives. In fact, convenience is such a huge deal that the cloud offers, in addition to security. It just makes life so much more simple. I mean, look at the fact that we're doing this podcast, it's on the cloud, it's recording on the fly, it's being uploaded by the minute, and we're able to have this lovely conversation without traveling. And like I was just discussing with you, Suhas, I mean, life before the pandemic was very different. Like, used to be on a plane at least 140 flights a year. And I'm sure you all have done your fair share of traveling as well. But now we didn't need to, and we're connecting here. So it indeed is incredible. Let's talk a little bit about predictions and like big predictions that potentially you are making. And this question stems from the fact that for over 30 years, Cisco has been providing tech solutions to businesses and individuals ranging from data centers to security, IoT, networking. The company's done a phenomenal job. And a phenomenal job of being one step ahead of the curve in this ever-changing world of tech. What's your one big prediction, Suhas, for a tech trend that companies will try and adopt potentially this year or next? And once you give your answer, we'd love to come to Anil as well. So Suhas, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think I would love to have that one thing. I wouldn't be talking to you or buying that stock right now, and then I would I'd be vacationing in Hawaii right now. So I think to have the crystal ball to actually know what's one big trend is a tough one. But let's look at the scenario, right? I mean, there is an expectation of a recession that's happening, and we are going to try to live through a downturn that's happening, and there is going to be a lot of technologies which people would want to slow down an investment in. I think one area where we will not going to be slowing down is understanding the power of AI. I think ChatGPT has made it much more palatable to most of the people. The power is very clear. So I think the power of software and AI on whatever we do is definitely going to start playing a lot bigger role. I think there are going to be ethical questions around it. I think there's going to be all kinds of challenges around how we use this powerful tool. But this trend is going to be there for the next, I don't know, more than a decade, I think. As an assistant as of now, I don't think it's going to replace us, but it's definitely a powerful assistant in doing whatever problem we're trying to solve. I think that's one big thing that I think is going to work.
Yeah, I think
You can't talk say security again.
I can't say security, but I think you also took the one that I wanted to talk about, which was the same topic again. But I think I mean, AI and ML has reached a point where cloud was a few years back, where we started talking about the power of cloud and how the cloud is going to go and it's going to be ubiquitous. I think 2023 is a year when AI ML it's going to be the beginning of the journey. And in a few years' time, if you're in the technology sector, I think our customers will expect us to whatever we do to just work. So the simplicity of the technology is probably the first one that our customers will demand, driven by AI and ML. So today, most of the consumers of technologies need to be sophisticated. They need to be trained. They need to have expertise, skills, and so on and so forth. I think over the next few years, with the power of the data, the power of AI and the ML, you'll see a lot of simplification of the sector where the customers, the consumers of the technology don't have to understand all the details, don't have to be too sophisticated, and things should just work.
Awesome. So there you have it, folks. Crystal gazing. If you were to make one or two bold, big bets, there you have it. You've got predictions from Suhas and Anil both. You can go ahead and figure out what you want to do with those particular bets next. But let's go a little deeper here, Suhas and Anil. And Suhas, particularly with you. Tell us a little more about what is life like at Cisco? Like you've been there for 20 years now. What is a typical day like in the life of Suhas Mansingh?
I've been there a long time. And, I remember when we got acquired by Cisco, my goal was to wait another 3 years till the stocks vest and then get out of this big damn company because I used to be, I'm not going to name it, in a large company long before I joined the startup. And I wanted to run away from large companies. And now again, a couple of years after my startup, we got acquired by a large company again. But you wanted to wait for the stocks to vest. And it never got boring after that. So it's been 23 years now. And every time I say it's getting to a point where maybe I should, it's getting boring, something new comes in and we constantly change. So defining the job is very difficult because it's one thing that Cisco does all the time. And we say, when we got nothing else to do, we do a reorg. And that's partly because, we realize that the world is changing fast, right? And we have to change along with it. So at a day in a life, for me is, it starts off by just checking what's happening. And there's usually a bunch of escalations happening. Somebody's not happy with something. And then walking around, meeting the team. There's a lot of products that we build out from here in the Bangalore campus. I mean, I've got a few hundred people out here building next generation products, learning the craziest technologies out there. We got a lot of senior tech leads that I sometimes sit down with and realize how dumb I am and come back and start reading up about what's going on and running the show, making sure that I can be the catalyst in the overall system out there to make it run faster. And in fact, I sometimes said this to my boss too, and he probably wasn't very pleased about it. I said, I don't really know what I do because I come in the morning and every day it's different. And the only fun is that it's always a new technology or the other. I'm a geek, and I love technology, and you cannot stop learning in Cisco. That's the day. I think it's learning every day.
Yeah, I think it's been more than 2 decades for me as well, and I must say that there was never a time beyond maybe a week or two at a time where it has been boring. It's always exciting. There's a lot of great people around, and almost everybody comes to work to make a difference. And the relationships you build go a long way. I mean,
So he said great people and relationships. So he's talking about the first person he met when he came. Just so that you know.
there are always exceptions, but one thing I always promise my team is that I will do my best to get you out of your comfort zone. And many times we try our best to not to get into a comfort zone and just keep doing what we're doing. And there's a system at play here that forces always not just us out of our comfort zone and do something better, different, make a difference, and so on and so forth. But it is the people around us who make it really interesting for us.
I think you said it incredibly well, right? Relationships matter. And that's something that's very close to my heart and I believe as well. And, there was this book which I read, it's called Squad of Five. The 5 people that you interact with most kind of define your life and figure out how much you're going to grow and which direction you're kind of going to go. So the people that you surround with are like supremely important. So one of my last questions to both of you, Suhas and Anil, is like, obviously you have large teams, but you're always looking for people as well to join Cisco and particularly your teams. What do both of you specifically look at in people when you're hiring them? There must be a couple of things that are absolute requirements for you. Or what are those 1 or 2 qualities that you potentially see and you light up saying that that's the kind of person I want on my team?
I'll go first. The problems that we solve in Cisco are fairly complex and deep. So the passion for the customers, the passion for the deep understanding of the problems are very important. It is not something that you can come in and then solve in a week or two and just go and go into the next project and work there. So people who have the depth and the breadth and the passion for the problem solving, not at the superficial level, but deep inside, understanding the customer's problems and really understanding and being excited about the impact you can make in the world and the customers is very important for me. And we are also a large company. We have a lot of our strengths, but being able to work with people, across people, being able to build those relationships, understand the people around you, and work together as a team, that's also very, very important. And then you see the sparks in some people, right? So you talk to them in the first few minutes, you know that there's something in that person. I don't quite know what that is, but you get the confidence that I can make the environment for that person. So if I see the spark, I can't quite nail as to what that is, but I think I tend to find those sparks when I talk to a different set of people. I think those are the 2 or 3 things I look.
It is common, and you'll see the similar answer for most of the people, right? It's the attitude, right? I mean, there was once a study to figure out, are people happier when they do what they love, or when they love what they do, right? There are certain people who just love whatever they do. They can find fun in whatever problems are thrown at it. So we do look for, hardcore people who enjoy technology, people who are great problem solvers, but who have a very good attitude about it, right? If you go back and talk to them about what they've done, and it's all about, I got into the wrong place, and it was but I'm meant for something better. Whatever you do is not going to work for a person like that. And then there are guys who can be happy, cleaning a sewage pump, right? And they can find that exciting. So it's all in the attitude, and you get the right attitude folks around. It's always going to be fun. So that's usually key for me. Obviously, the basics of an engineer have to be there. This is a hardcore engineering job. We build products that make billions of dollars, products that run without a reload for 10 years. So for those of you who are looking at, the simple answer for everything is, can you please reset it? That's not an option when you're running a network that's going to be live 24/7. So there's definitely high reliability stuff that we build. So hardcore techies, hardcore, engineers who enjoy building complex stuff, but then definitely the attitude.
That's a great summary, I think. Have the right attitude, get shit done, love solving problems, like being focused and obsessed with tech, and the spark, if Anil is able to spot it, well, there you'll get into Cisco. And with that, this has been such a fascinating conversation, Suhas and Anil. Thank you so much for joining in. Suhas, I think you and me, it's just about the weekend, Friday evening, we're recording this. About time we got into our cars and turned on Badshah and Yo-Yo Honey Singh. Well, I don't know what kind of music Anil enjoys, so maybe we'll let him spill that out a little bit.
Sure, man. Let's turn that on and have a nice one, man.
Thanks for having us, Anil.
You've been listening to HackerRank Radio, the podcast dedicated to discussing the challenges and the opportunities in building and developing world-class engineering teams. Brought to you by HackerRank, the developer skills company.